Throw the slack, you fucking moron!
Well, it's about time you started listening to this episode. Hey everybody, this is Screen Share, a movie podcast, and this episode is about the movie About Time, is the joke I was making.
Oh.
Yeah, Calder was looking at me confused, like I was just being rude. No, I was doing a
I
little
thought you were doing
bit.
a cowboy thing.
No, I was doing a little joke thing.
Maybe we watched a
Like
different
it's
movie.
about time you showed up here again.
I knew you were going to come around these parts again.
This town ain't big enough for the two.
Does it hurt your neck looking at me like that?
Not really.
Okay. If
I'm
it does,
used
tell
to it.
me.
I'm used to looking at you.
Yeah, because I'm a star.
Yeah.
And you're a bitch.
So last movie, bit of a controversial one. We don't know that. We don't know that.
Why would it be controversial either way?
Because we put Waves at number one. We have a new number one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
But I don't know if that was I mean, we'll find out, I guess.
I don't think it'll be controversial because we don't have much of a fan base.
That's true. And I also don't think many people have watched Waves, so.
There you go.
But, yeah, we've got a new number one movie in Waves, which was last week's movie. And now we're doing About Time, which was one of my picks. A little more of a lighthearted flick.
Bit of a British romp.
A bit of a British romp.
Mm-hmm.
Although, we'll just do a real quick fun fact. None of the main lead, romantic interests are British. Domhnall Gleeson, Margot Robbie, and Rachel McAdams. Domhnall Gleeson is I think he's Irish. Maybe.
That
yeah,
counts. That's all the same. They had that war, but that was kind of
Rachel
a fake
McAdams,
war.
Canadian.
Also formerly British.
Margot Robbie, Australian.
Also formerly British.
Well, whatever, man.
I'm just saying.
He's just saying.
They
Anyway,
didn't go far from the tree.
So About Time is about time. It's not actually really. It's about love and it's about happiness. I'd say it's about happiness.
And picking the right girl.
Well, sure. I mean, it's more about happiness.
Yeah.
Like he picks the right girl because he realizes who makes him truly happy. But yeah, it's basically Domhnall Gleeson's character turns 21. And then his dad basically is like, hey, just so you know, you're 21, so I can tell you this. All of the men in our family are able to time travel. But just back in time. And only to moments in your specific life. Which I think specifying that kind of makes questioning the specifics of the time
I have
travel
questions about it.
logistics. It makes it a little bit easier to just be like forgive it, because it's like, oh, he can only go back to moments in his life. But there are a couple plot holes. We'll get to it. Whatever.
Then they introduce rules, and the rules are like, what?
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Bing bong.
But this movie was written and directed by Richard Curtis, who is known for 4 Weddings and a Funeral, also just known as 4 Weddings. Bridget Jones' Diary, Love Actually, Yesterday, and War Horse.
Love Actually. War Horse was an Oscars movie.
Yeah.
Why? No one in the world knows.
Because it says war, which the Academy
That's
likes, and it
true.
also says horse, which the Academy loves.
Really?
Yeah, the
Seabiscuit,
Academy loves horse movies.
Secretariat. Both won Best Picture.
The budget was $12 million.
That's not true.
That's a pretty small budget for a movie like this.
There's not
And
a lot of
box office-
locations.
Yeah, not really.
Mhm.
They kind of go back to their cottage in where is it?
Westminster.
No.
Birmingham.
Cornwall, that's what it is.
Ah.
I was trying to remember Margot Robbie's line where she's like, sometimes I don't think that you exist outside of Cornwall. Sorry, this is this episode's thus far a little bit rude towards British people, but hey.
No, they don't. They're doing
Less
fine.
than 1% of our audience demographic, apparently.
They're
so.
doing fine. They'll be okay, if I'm being honest.
But budget of $12 million, made $88.5 million, which is that's pretty
And people liked it a lot, too.
pretty damn good. Yeah, there was generally good reception. There were some critics who thought it was just a copy of The Time Traveler's Wife, which also stars Rachel McAdams, but I think that the logistics are a little bit different. And I think in this movie, the time travel honestly like isn't even the biggest part of the movie. Like I think the way they treat time travel makes the time travel not really even matter that much.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like. Anyway. But originally Richard Curtis just wanted to make a movie that was just about like how to achieve happiness in like an ordinary regular life.
Mm-hmm.
But then he was like, this movie's too simple, so he had to time travel.
Nice.
And apparently originally they were gonna have some like VFX, and they actually shipped the movie off to some like third-party VFX companies to like do some cool effects when they're time traveling, but they said it was just weird.
Yeah.
It like this movie's a very like personal movie, so that would be weird.
My thing with the movie is that it's like very sentimental and very sweet, which is nice.
Yeah.
And the time travel thing is interesting.
It just adds
but as you get later in the movie,
there's
the
some
time
questions.
travel thing gets like kind of rough.
Yeah. The third act kind of makes you go, whoa.
And I think if this movie was made today, it'd be like some shit Ryan Reynolds movie or something like that, where it's like more about time travel than it is about like happiness.
Yeah. I think that I'm glad that they toned down the time travel so much, because I think it wouldn't be that interesting of a movie if it was like focused on that. Like most of the time travel is like him being awkward and being like, I want to do that again.
Yeah.
Not like him going back to when he was a kid, to because that's what would happen if it was made now. Is it would be like, no, you have to go back to like when he was a child and change something and drastically change his life. It's like, no, he's just changing like little moments.
He's just like, oh, I should have kissed that girl on New Year's.
Yeah. Which like literally the only change in outcome there is that he made her happy on New Year's.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's the kind of thing that he uses the time travel for throughout the movie, which I think is nice. Yeah, I like that they kind of dumbed it down to make it less of a focus. The movie, kind of a bit of a surprising thing, was a big hit in South Korea.
Sure.
More than 3 million people saw it. It made $23.4 million just in South Korea.
Why?
They just liked the movie a lot, I guess. They just really liked the
idea,
concept of the movie, I guess, which is cool. I mean, it is a very like cute, personal, wholesome, sweet.
Yeah.
What's another synonym?
Sentimental. It's just a sentimental movie.
It's a sentimental movie.
You watch it. There's some trials.
There's some tribulations.
Works out in the end.
But everything works out in the end. Like I said, critics were positive, but a lot of them had like problems with the time travel aspect and like plot holes and stuff. Originally, Zooey Deschanel was cast as Mary, which like I was thinking about it and I was like, I can see that happening. Like I could see, but I think Rachel McAdams brings like
Zooey Deschanel's too like, she's too much of like an alien, like a whimsical alien from a
interesting
planet of bubblegum and whatever. Like she's out of this world, different. Whereas Rachel McAdams is like a bit quirky. Zooey Deschanel's like, oh, I'm like,
yeah, I feel like Rachel McAdams captures like not the girl next door, but just like the sweet, like when one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they do their initial blind date thing, like where it's actually just like in total darkness.
Yeah.
And it's just so nice hearing them talk.
Yeah.
And you like, there's just like immediate chemistry. She has a very much like she mentions it later when she's talking to his mom and she's like, a big thing about me is I'm insecure. I feel like that aspect of her character kind of like makes her a lot more relatable and likable.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I feel like if Zooey Deschanel, even if the script didn't change, if Zooey Deschanel did it, it would just be a little bit more like he's pursuing her but instead with Rachel McAdams, it's very much a like, this feels right.
Yeah, because there's a version of this movie that's like creepy.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was kind of going, because I'd never seen this one before.
Cool.
I felt like it was kind of going there at the start where it's
Yeah.
like, is this going to just get creepy where he's like tricking her into liking him?
Yeah.
But then he uses it as more of a way to get a second chance at getting her to like him rather than tricking her into liking him.
Yeah. I mean, like, first of all, it bums me out that, like, and I know this isn't really how this version of time travel works, but, like, the timeline of them meeting for the first time in that blind date isn't the reality that exists.
No.
Because he uses that time to make sure that his friend Harry has his play be successful.
Yeah.
Which, like, what a
It's
nice
nice,
thing.
but
That's
like,
nice. But, like, he probably just figured that, like, this is his friend's one shot at this thing. He'll probably have, he could create other times to possibly get with this girl.
but that also feels like something where maybe that's not the guy's fault and he'll probably get a second chance to put the play on and have the guy remember the line. Because it's not like everyone was like, the play was absolute hog shit.
It's just not the main thing that's being talked about.
Yeah. Just a guy forgot his lines.
Yeah. But, like, with that one, I'm like, that's not the decision I'd make, but I guess I get it.
Yeah.
But, like, he does eventually, like,
Uses
win her
Kate
over in a
Moss
different way, which, like, at first I thought was a little bit weird that he's, like, trying to force her into this thing. But then I realized one of the few moments in the movie that isn't, like, a product of him traveling back in time to fix something is him meeting her in that blind date.
Yeah.
Like, that was just him going and doing something, not doing anything time travel related. So I don't see it as, like, actually that unethical or weird. Because it's just him, like, making it a sure thing.
If he just saw her on the street and was like, I'm going to pursue her with my time travel, then that's weird. But they had, like, a connection outside of the time travel.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes it not seem like a creepy thing where he's like,
it would have
bent
been a creepy
space and
thing if he
time.
succeeded in getting with Margot Robbie because of the time travel.
yeah.
Like, that would have been weird and creepy and unethical, but, like, he got with Rachel McAdams naturally and then undid it and went, okay, well, I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
I do feel kind of bad for the guy that she got with.
He's a dick.
I mean, was he really a dick, though?
He's just kind of like a...
He just seemed like a nothing guy.
Yeah.
But, like... Anyway, just wanted to add that in there. But I'm glad it was Rachel McAdams and not Zooey Deschanel. Just because...
Yeah. Zooey Deschanel's like a different thing. You know?
She's just like a different... She's
got
would play
such
a different type of character.
She's got such a specific...
Oh, do you hear that? Do you hear that?
This is your Zooey Deschanel.
It's mine. It's
She's
mine.
your
it's my
Zooey
Zooey Deschanel. It's my Rachel McAdams.
We could cut this out.
We can cut this out.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Olivia. Okay, I'm just going to jump in with an anyway and say another fact. Now, that's going to feel fake, but it's fine. Anyway, I can't do it. The film was actually also dedicated to Richard Griffiths, who played Uncle Vernon in the Harry Potter movies, and he's in one scene in this.
Yeah,
well, I
he's
guess
the
two
actor.
scenes. Technically.
He's the actor.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't get. He's the actor that
messes up.
Tim thought forgot his lines.
No, he's the actor that did originally forget his lines.
But then another one forgets his lines.
Because the timeline is like
fucky.
Like things are gonna happen kind of thing. I think that's what the kind of whole movie is about at the same time, where it's like you can try and change things, but some things are just gonna happen.
Yeah, and some things are just like life. Especially at the end of the movie when he's like, for a while I took my dad's advice and lived every day normally and then relived it. But now I just live it like it's the second time. Mm-hmm. I think that's also him kind of realizing like sometimes life just is life. Because that's the other thing. Like, I would think that I would want to relive the good days, but those are the days you don't have to relive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to relive the bad days because those days suck. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can make them better, but like those days suck. So like it's kind of like a weird...
How would you use the time travel? Like, would you do something where you do a lottery win? Get yourself set up?
No, because like they say at the beginning of the movie, it's like, if your immediate instinct is like, I'm going to use this to get some money, then it's like, you're not really using it for the right reasons. I don't, like, maybe I would do it. I'd use the time travel to like prepare for like more for a job that I really want, but I wouldn't use it to like.
I feel like I'd do a lottery win and then just kind of like chill and like not really tell anyone. You know?
That's literally like the first thing he brings up, though.
I know,
that
but
he's going to use it to get a lot of money and then not have to work the rest of his life.
But then you can like still have a job, though.
Sure,
like,
but if he did that, he wouldn't have met Rachel McAdams.
No.
Yeah, because
No.
if the first thing he did was like, I'm going to go get some money, then he wouldn't have moved somewhere to get a job.
Oh, I guess maybe.
So like I think that's what his dad was trying to.
But like you
hit
can still
home.
pursue a career while also being like, oh, I still have money, so it's fine.
I guess so, but like I wouldn't go the money route immediately. Like maybe if something naturally came up, like
You need $1 million.
no, I mean like if there was a scenario where if I made a different decision, I would have come out in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe I redo that.
Like with all your FDX
Sure.
holdings.
Sure.
That's going to be dated by the time. It's already dated right now.
Yeah.
Imagine in a month.
Jeez, man.
Let me get this.
It's
in there.
incredible how quickly crypto rose and fell.
Yeah. It's a joke.
Yep. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, the film was dedicated to Richard Griffiths, who died apparently just like a couple months before the film released, and it's his last film appearance ever.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when I was looking up facts for this movie, there were like 14 facts that were like, did you know that Richard Griffiths, Domhnall Gleeson, and Bill Nighy are all in the Harry Potter franchise?
What's Domhnall Gleeson?
He's Bill Weasley, he's Bill Weasley, one of the older Weasleys. He's not in the school. He's just in like Deathly Hallows Part 1, basically.
Okay. Oh yeah, and he's got the what? He's dating like Fleur de Lis or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
Fleur de
not-
Lis.
That's not what she's in her
Fleur
name.
Delacour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then Bill Nighy is plays like the interim minister of magic in Deathly Hallows Part 1, and then obviously Richard Griffiths is Uncle Vernon.
Obviously.
And then another fact was like, when Richard Griffiths' character tells Domhnall Gleeson's character to leave the room, he calls him a ginger twerp, which is a reference to him being a Weasley.
Huh?
Like, or Domhnall Gleeson just has ginger hair, I think actually is actually the fact.
No, I think it's the Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the Harry Potter.
And then there was one that was like, when they're doing wedding planning, Mary says, Hagrid it is, about like who's gonna minister the wedding.
Yeah.
And it's like, Hagrid is a character in Harry Potter, which is a reference to the franchise that Domhnall Gleeson's in. And I'm like, none of these are fun facts. They're just being like, did you know these guys were in Harry Potter? I don't know. I just hated those.
Yeah.
That's just me venting about the internet real quick and IMDb. Let me just see if there's any more quick facts that I have. No, nothing interesting.
3 guys pissed in the same toilet at one point.
When?
At some point.
In the movie?
No.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Huh?
What are you saying?
How's that catchphrase?
That's one of the, first of all, that's one of the most forced catchphrases you've had. 2, it's gonna sound like I did an edit there because you just said something completely unrelated that made no sense. And 3, what's the catchphrase?
3 guys pissed in a toilet once.
That's not a cat. I'll be honest, I gotta give you a 1 for that. That's not a catchphrase. Give me a context when you say that, other than when there's 3 guys who pissed in the same toilet.
Wow, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Well, 3 guys pissed in a toilet once.
Okay, well, you gave me 1.
Shake on it.
I'm not changing the ranking though. It's a 1.
We'll get a better one by the end of this app.
No, we won't.
No, we won't.
No, we won't. So I know we've kind of talked in and around the movie, but generally, how do you feel about it?
I like it. I think it's a fun, cute movie. The end I don't get or like. Can we talk about the time travel powers?
Let's get it over with, yeah.
So they start off very simple, and then there's complications.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't know. Does he have to relive everything up until when he time traveled?
So
or does he teleport back?
So before we get deep into the weeds of this time travel shit, when I watched this for the first time, and then also for the second time with Olivia, every time I had a question about the time travel, she'd go, "It doesn't matter. That kind of thing doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The logistics of the time travel doesn't matter. It's just a vehicle for the story," which I kind of agree with. That being said, I have thought a lot about some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he has to live through everything.
So he just changes the one moment and then goes back.
I think so.
Okay. Then they add in the thing about if you go past a baby's birth.
Wait, but
backwards?
sorry, but I think he has to go back into like the dark space or like dark closet to go back forward.
Okay. And then there's the thing about if a child's born and you go back past that and you come back, it's a different child.
Yeah.
So this is spoilers. At the end, when his dad's dying, his dad's like, "I want to do one more thing with you. Go back." And they go back to when Domhnall Gleeson was
a tiny little boy.
Does that not ruin his children?
Well, so Bill Nye says, or because Domhnall Gleeson's character, I'm going to call them Tim and Dad because that's the character's names. Tim is like, we can't do that. And his dad's like, well, if we don't change anything, I think it'll be fine. Because if this is also the main thing that I had a problem with the first time I watched it, was like, I get that like if they don't change anything about the day, it's not really going to change anything. Like Bill, like the dad is still probably going to like do all of the same stuff, have sex at the same time, come at the same time, and conceive at the same time. What, like all of these things, like none of that's going to be changed by Tim like running around on the beach, right? Because they're just kind of skipping stones and goofing around on the beach. That being said, the part where I get confused is Kid Tim.
Okay.
Because like adult Tim is going back into
Does
Kid
he turn
Tim.
into Kid Tim?
Does he become Kid Tim, or does he stay adult Tim? And also, to go back to that to go back forward in time, he has to go back into the closet with his dad, which is fine because he's adult Tim in Kid Tim's mind. But then when he goes back forward, does Kid Tim have the knowledge of time travel? Or does Kid Tim all of a sudden go, why am I in the closet? My guess is why is he in the closet? And then when he's told about the time travel, he goes, oh, maybe that's why I was in the closet that one time.
But it just seems like it breaks the rules, and I didn't like that.
But here's the thing that Olivia kept saying, which I kind of agree with. It breaks the rules, but it breaks the rules like for the story to be nice. It's just so hard not to like pick apart the time travel aspect of it, because like we've had so many time travel movies and so many of them are so focused on like making sure it makes continuity or like the continuity makes sense.
Here's what I pitch as the ending instead.
Okay.
So you don't have this question of the problem with Domhnall Gleeson. Is you just have him have a conversation with his dad, and Tim goes, so where are you going to go before you die? Or something like that. And the dad's like, I don't know, I'm going to go do whatever. He's like, I don't know. There's like a vague conversation. Tim sees his dad go into the closet, and then we see like the vision of him and his dad when they're younger. So then I'm not sitting in the movie going, oh,
so like his dad still goes back to that point, but Tim doesn't go with
because
him.
In my head I'm like, Tim's
That's
going
fair.
back. His kids are going to be different. He's going to have different kids. Like, that's the problem.
Well,
because that was such a problem when he went to help Joanna.
Well,
Or
the
not
thing is,
Joanna, but, like,
I understand
what's a Kit Kat?
Kit Kat, yeah. I understand the like honestly, it's enough for me to like suspend my disbelief that his dad's just like, if we don't change anything, like it'll be fine, because they're literally just like fucking around on the beach.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes it weird for me is, how does this affect kid Tim after they go back into the future?
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
But that's also a thing.
that's the thing that gets me the
But, like,
most.
What did he change when he went to help Kit Kat that he made it so his baby's a different gender? Because the baby was still in Rachel McAdams. Like, it's not like he went back before they conceived.
Well, they did. They went back all the way back to the They went all the way back to the party, the New Year's party.
Oh, so that's why the kid changed gender?
So here's something that confuses me. The way it's pitched the first time, what I gathered is that you can't go before one of your children is like conceived.
Yeah.
Like the come happens.
Yeah, that's
Because
what that
like
is.
if you come a second or earlier or later, it'll be a different sperm.
Sure.
That's how I gathered it. And I think that's kind of how they pitched it. But then when they're having their last child, which causes him to have to go see his dad for the last time, Rachel McAdams is like, they're talking about how she might give birth that night. She's already pregnant, and he goes back to like...
No, because that would be when he conceives.
What do you mean?
Or when they conceive.
No, that would be
Right?
when the child is born. Conceiving is when
So it's
the
not,
child,
is it conceiving
when the
or when
sperm
it's
hits
born?
the egg. Well, that's what I'm saying. It was pitched as the like you can't go before the conception, but then he
He's
makes a
saying,
big deal
like-
about how it's the last time before the new kid is born. But like
Yeah.
the kid's already in there.
Man, I don't know.
So like that's the other thing. Like the Tim going back into young Tim's body, and then the inconsistency with like
The
when
pregnancy
is and
stuff.
isn't okay to go back
Yeah.
are the two that I do think about. Everything else I'm completely fine.
Exactly, yeah.
Um,
I think all the troubles that Tim has, all the conflict that Tim has is really interesting and really good. And like with the Charlotte stuff, I was like, no, Tim, don't. Like I was emotionally invested in the characters. But then there's this weird time travel thing that like, yes, it is a vessel to move the plot forward, but also I need it to make sense. Like I can't be questioning that and that be the thing where when I leave the movie, like I'm like, so are his kids different now because he's went back to being a child?
yeah.
And like, I don't think "don't touch anything" is like a good enough explanation like for that.
Well,
you
I think
know?
it's less of a don't touch anything as it is like the moment they were going back to isn't a moment that had an effect on other things. Like if they went back to a night that they were like in public, or like they went to like an arcade or something, just as a random example, like maybe they would have interacted with different people, or they would have done something different, or like something would have had a chain reaction. But that one was literally just those two characters isolated by themselves doing something. So I think that's why it was okay.
I guess, but I don't think that's a good enough explanation because
That's fine.
there's such like butterfly effects that can change or happen
Yeah.
because of like when you show up to a place. If you show up like a minute later, something different might happen. Or like,
Well, that's the thing with why I think it gets me is because the butterfly effect to me in the beach bit would be how it affects
little
child
boy,
Tim.
yeah.
But anyway,
To each their own.
to each their own. For me, I think I'm able to like forgive some of the weird like time travel holes enough for me to enjoy it. But there are a couple that I'm like,
And like this is like what you said, like this time travel stuff ain't gonna touch me. How's
What?
that catchphrase?
this time travel stuff ain't gonna touch me.
Yeah. How's that catchphrase?
2.5. You're making your way up. You are making your way up.
You said I could never have one better than the last one.
That's not what I said.
You said that last one was so bad you couldn't come up with a good one if your life depended on it.
Never said that once.
What about this? Bazinga.
I'm gonna call out Tim in this movie.
For?
He, I think, is like similar to Luke from Waves, which we talked about last week. He kind of has this awkward charisma.
Yeah.
Where he's like charming in a very like uncomfortable way.
Mm-hmm.
But when he like knows what's going to happen and knows what to say and knows that how people will respond to certain things he says, when it's like his second, third, fourth try at something, he's incredibly less charming and like more weird.
Yeah.
Like when he's having lunch with Mary after meeting her at the party, and he's like, let's talk about Kate Moss. Let's talk about you being like reading for a living. And he's just like saying all these things because he knows what to say, but it's like kind of catching her off guard, and it's kind of creepy and a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And he's not very like charismatic. But the first time he talked to her, she was like, yeah, I really love Kate Moss actually. And he was like, oh, why? And then she told him, and then she was interested in him.
She's
because
still that little naked girl on the beach.
Yeah. Yeah, or whatever it was. But I will say, like, I think it's almost like offensive to Rachel McAdams' character of Mary that like he's weirding her out and being creepy at the Kate Moss like art exhibit. Then he's like, I'm an absolutely big Kate Moss fan, and then just like regurgitates what she said to him like a different time.
Yeah, it's like,
and
it
then
doesn't
she's like,
really work.
Oh, well,
for
in
me.
that case, I'll let you hang out.
That like reintroducing himself thing doesn't really work, because if someone came up to you in a public place and started saying things
And
exactly
literally said,
the
I'm
way
lonely,
you would say
can
them,
I hang out with you?
yeah, I'd be like, no. There was a lady on the subway when I was coming here. She was walking down the subway, stopping at everyone, going, "You want to be friends? You want to be friends?" He's kind of doing that, where he like just goes up to her and he's like, "You want to be friends? I like Kate Moss too. She's a naked girl on the beach still, but even though she goes high fashion, she's still naked girl on the beach, little girl. And you read for a living, right? You do? You read for a living, huh?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, chill.
And also when he's trying to like get details about the address of the party so he can go meet her at
It's
a
like,
different time.
I need an address though.
Yeah, he's like, what's the address though? What's the address though? They wouldn't tell him the address.
No.
He's being creepy and weird. Yeah, I do agree with that. But yeah, I just think that like Tim as a character is like charming and likable, but when he like does a second or third try and is then trying too hard because he knows what to say, it's like he's not as good. Which like then makes me think of the first time that they had sex at like her apartment.
Yeah.
Like they hint at the fact that the first time was not very great, so he does it again and tries. But like then he does it like 3 more times.
Yeah, he likes to get reps in.
But like for Mary, the only time that happened was the last time. So like in her life, in her memory, all that happened was he jumped into the room, ripped her clothes off, and then they like had sex for like 4 hours
And then ended up on the floor?
But like there's something sweet about like the first 2 or maybe even 3 times.
Yeah.
That like just no longer like they existed for him because he lived them.
Yeah,
but
and he's like still cranking it out to them.
Sure, but like those moments didn't exist for her.
Yeah.
So like, what if that? I don't know. It just like kind of takes away part of the like, and not just because it's a sex thing, but like it takes away when he does it in other moments too. It just takes away from the purity of the relationship a little bit to be like, this is my 7th try. Now I think it's good because he doesn't do that a lot going forward. Like he doesn't really meddle in his relationship, although he does try to get out of a fight.
Oh yeah, I like that.
By using the time
He's
travel.
like, I just need to.
Which is one thing. Oh yeah, that's another thing. This isn't like a time travel logistics thing.
Okay.
But like, he doesn't lock the door to the office which then results in their kid getting into it and like ripping up and shredding Mary's manuscript.
Yeah.
And then they start to have a fight, and then they get on the phone and learn that
Kit Kat was in an accident?
No, they learn that his dad has cancer.
Okay.
But like it's like learning that his dad has cancer just makes him like immediately go, okay, we've got to leave.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to that. I feel like I'd be like, okay, we have to leave. First, I'm just going to go to the bathroom, and I go to the bathroom, shut the lights off, go back in time to before she tried on all the dresses. I'd lock the door to the office and then do all the dresses thing and then find out about the dad and then go, because like you still want to save your wife's job.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fine. Her job doesn't matter anymore.
Anyway, it's fine. That was just like a logistics thing where I was like, okay, like obviously I know that you're very sad that like your dad is sick, but like he more than anyone would understand taking a second to make sure that your wife's job is not in jeopardy.
Oh yeah, and the dad's still gonna like, what's gonna change about that? You know, like nothing's really gonna change. You're just gonna have a better time when you get back home.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the side characters? I think the side characters are pretty good in this movie. Oh, yeah. Even from like Charlotte to Joanna, Rory,
Kit Kat, Rory,
Uncle
Harry, Uncle Desmond,
Uncle Fester,
Mammy. Honestly, I think that my favorite side character is probably Kit Kat. She just seems like such a fun sister, and like, especially watching it a second time, like throughout the movie, like characters would just be like, "How you doing?" and she'll be like, "Not very good," and then it just like moves on to the next thing.
Who's the guy she ends up with? Sleazy Tom or something?
What's his name?
Sleazy John?
I forget. He's a piece of shit. That's all I know.
The guy she ends up with?
Oh, sorry. The end guy, Jay.
Oh,
Jay was the guy.
Jay.
The ginger guy.
Yeah.
Who was a piece of shit for the beginning.
Yeah.
And then later, he still like acts the same way, but he doesn't really talk anymore. So he's not saying anything problematic anymore.
It's good.
Which, oh yeah, that's one more little plot hole. When they go back in time to the New Year's party and then jump forward in time, Kit Kat is like, oh my goodness, I'm into Jay. And like all of a sudden she has these memories of being into Jay. But Tim doesn't have memories of having a son instead of a daughter.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just like...
Yeah, I think it's just there's a lot of things that are...
I mean, maybe his mind wasn't really focused on that.
Maybe.
Because he was thinking about his sister, but...
But things are kind of inconsistent in the movie, I think.
I think this movie's like really... Oh, actually, let's keep talking about the side characters. Who's your favorite side character?
I like Joanna. She seems fun. She seems like
Mary's
nice.
friend, yeah.
Played by Vanessa Kirby.
I like... My favorite Joanna moment is when Tim is like at her party to meet Mary for like the 7th time, but also the first time. And she's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm a friend of Mary's." Weird story to go with. They could easily cross-check that, but
yeah.
But then how she's like, "Here, try some of these like hot dogs. I made them myself." And he's like, "Oh, thanks," and takes a bite, and she's like, "Horrible, wildly undercooked," or something like that.
Yeah, I think she's funny.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny.
Vanessa Kirby has a much different career now.
Yeah.
She was in Hobbs and Shaw. She's in Mission Impossible. And she like... I guess it's just an age thing because this was like 10 years ago. But, like, she looks wildly different now. I did not recognize her. Like, I recognized her eyes and I was like, why do I know who she is?
Yeah.
She looks a lot.
And then he went, "Oh, Hobbs and Shaw, Hobbs and Shaw." But yeah, I think Kit Kat's my favorite. I like Rory, but
Rory's a fun guy.
One of my favorite moments of the whole movie is like cycling through all the different best man speeches.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like Rory and he's like, he's telling an anecdote about like a court case,
but it's just like so long.
And he's like, I got to give the context.
Yeah,
and it's just horrible. And then it's Jay, and he's like, here's every woman Tim has ever had the opportunity to sleep with, and how far he got with each. And you see, and there's like a numbering system. It's like a green 8, a yellow 2, and he's like, I'll explain the system. It's like,
you got to do that.
And then Harry is like, I hate this guy, and I'm drunk. And then his dad's is really
I like
sweet.
Harry too.
I think Harry's
like
a good
that
character.
actor.
Yeah.
He was in White Lotus season 2.
Okay.
Tom Hollander. Harry's okay. He gives me a little bit of what I want, which is a little anger.
A little bit of anger. Now, and then when his dad does the best man speech, I remember being like, oh, that was a nice speech. And then him being like, I want to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And me being like, don't do it again. Like, let it just be the pure thing it was. But then his second speech is like really sweet. And I was like,
well, because
okay.
wasn't the thing that he was like, I wanted to say that I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
he just goes back and kind of adds that, which is nice.
Yeah. Which kind of reminds me of a, honestly, this is a weird
Death Grip
comparison.
song?
No, of a Glee episode.
Whoa!
So for those who don't know, Corey Monteith is an actor
is
who
that
was
faux
on Glee.
hawk?
Yeah,
Or
I think.
mohawk?
No, that's no.
Oh.
That's a we're not getting into that guy.
Oh,
But
okay.
Corey Monteith played Finn, who's like the main guy. But then partway through season 5, he died in real life. So then they
R.I.P.
basically did a tribute episode in the actual Glee episode. And I kind of like how they did it actually.
Did they kill him
didn't
off in the show?
Yeah. But they don't really say why or like how, and they don't show like characters reacting to the news. They just cut to like 3 weeks after and just how everyone's dealing with it, which for all of the faults Glee has, which it is like pages full of flaws. Like, I think that they handled that episode really well, but there's a moment where Finn's dad like has a moment where he's like, I just wish I hugged him more. He's like, there was a moment where he was stressing to me about school, and I gave him a pat on the back and said like things would be okay, and I just wish I gave him a hug. And like that kind of reminded me, because I'd already seen About Time when I watched that episode for the first time.
Yes, sir.
So that episode kind of reminded me of this movie when his dad's like, I should have said I love you. What's literally what is the reason for not saying I love you?
Yeah.
Which like that Glee episode and then also this movie have kind of made me realize that in real life, just to get a little bit real, where I'm like, there's literally no reason for me not to like say how I'm feeling and show the affection in the way that I'm feeling it. There's literally no reason. Like, I guess the reason for like most people, myself included, is like, I guess embarrassment. But like, why? And I just really like that moment. Sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent.
No, it's okay. Let me get a little bit real here too.
Sure. Oh, you're smiling. It's about to go bad.
Oh, I like capes. Look at all my capes. How's that as a catchphrase? That's me doing Lando.
There it is. I was waiting for you to admit that you just stole that from Solo, a Star Wars Story.
I'm doing Lando. Was that good?
It wasn't good in Solo.
What's the rating?
For you saying it?
Yeah. And then
Say
for
it again.
Solo
Say it
after.
again.
Oh, I like capes. Look at my capes.
Do you have any capes in real life?
Turn the lights off. I'm going to go back in time and remove that silence.
Wow.
No, I do not have any capes in real life.
Okay. I'm going to give that a 2. I'm going to give it a 2.6.
Let's go, Blue Jays. Let's go.
Because what, I gave you a 0 and then a 2.5?
Give me a 1, bitch.
Oh, sorry, a 1 and then a 2.5. I'm giving you 2.6 just so you're still on an upwards trajectory, even though it wasn't very good. Sorry. Anyway,
okay, you do this on purpose.
So I just think like that whole thing of like, why would I not say I love you there is kind of part of the theme of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Which like Tim gets into at the end when he's like, I live every day as if it's my second time, with like holding nothing back, basically.
Well, like
Yeah.
Okay, so Back to the Future is kind of about the big changes, changing your character, changing who you are.
Yeah.
Using time travel, this is changing the little moments and the things you wish you did better or wish you were conscious at the time to not that people are unconscious, but consciously trying to do something at a time.
Yeah.
When you that you think is important, rather than being my dad's a little baby, I'm going to make him tough so he can stand up to Biff. It's
yeah.
I wish I said I love you, or I wish I kissed that girl on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Or just little things.
Or I wish that I made fun of our boss to my coworker to make him laugh.
And be
little stuff like that.
And when he changes a big thing, that's when things go wrong.
Yeah.
So he's not incentivized to make big changes.
Exactly.
Which is kind of a nice thing with how the movie's built.
Yeah.
Gets a little away from you at the end, but I
Sure.
think it's a good message throughout the movie where it's it's not the big things you need to change or you should worry about changing. It's focus on the little things in life that you can appreciate or live through or you do to make someone happy or anything like that.
And it's almost when you try to change the big things, it can sometimes take away the little things that you don't realize you appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
But when you change the little things, sometimes it can affect the big things in a bit, it can affect things in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree that I think the toned back nature of the time travel really lends itself to the message they're trying to put forward. And I really like that a lot.
Do you have any questions for me, love?
There was one that I was just about to say that I'm... oh, yeah. This is more of a comment. When we were watching, I made a comment where I was man, I don't know what I'd do in this situation. I forget what it was, what part of the movie was, but I just mentioned that, I wouldn't know what to do. And then Olivia was oh, you'd be horrible with this power. And I was what do you mean? And she's you would drive yourself insane.
You are a second guesser.
I'm horrendous with decisions. So she was this is what you would do. It would be a tiny little thing that doesn't matter at all, and you'd do it. You'd think it was bad. You'd go back in time and do it again, think it was also bad.
It'd be like Dormammu in Doctor Strange, where you're just there infinitely trying to figure out the best way to live this small decision.
It would take me, if you're counting each time going back as extended time, it would probably take me about 250 years to live 80 years. I would just be going back all the time being shit, I've got to make everything perfect. And then almost every time I feel I would just be okay, I just got to replicate what the first time was.
Yeah.
That was the better time. And then I wouldn't be able to replicate it, but I'd be
shit.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I would go insane with this power.
You'd probably bring down the entire universe with all the multiverses you've created.
Dude, true. Although I think they they don't make it clear, but I think they try to make it there's not multiverses. There's just the one thread.
Yeah.
It's just you can go back and change that thread. But yeah, I would just be in the fetal position with my eyes closed in a dark closet almost my entire
That's a good
life.
band name.
Fetal position in a dark closet
with my eyes closed.
With my eyes closed, yeah. Maybe a good album name.
What about Where's My Lamp?
You're going too hard on the catchphrases because the fact that Where's My Lamp is a 5 just shows where the expectations are.
I'm going to have a good one of these days.
What's the highest I've given you? A 6? Oh, because you said, I'm going to let my panda out for turning red. And I think I gave you a 6.
That was a good one.
So
that was
a drive-by?
Yeah. Adam waved the mic next to his stinky ass as he blew a fart into it.
I did not make that noise. What are you talking about?
All right, check the tape.
All right. Honestly, I'm unless you have more to say, I'm
Are you ready to Adam
satisfied
Driver?
with wrapping it up. Adam Driver time. I think I know.
I think I know.
I'm going to go with Jay.
That's what I was going to go with too. Yeah.
I don't think he'd be able to play actually no, I think he'd play it asshole differently.
Mm-hmm.
Jay's very much very confidently.
Yeah. Adam Driver's got a
insensitive.
different thing that he does.
Yeah, he would be more like laid back asshole.
Yeah.
I think of how he was in the movie The F Word,
Mm-hmm.
where he's like, I just had sex and I'm gonna eat nachos. This is the greatest day of my life. That character, where he's very much like
He's more
laid back,
boisterous.
doesn't care, but
Yeah.
he's yeah. So I think Jay. I think he'd fit that well.
Pull that phone out. Let's see where we rank these
All right,
boys.
let's see where we're ranking. About Time. Honestly,
now, initially when I did my in-month rankings, I put this at number 2. So I'm gonna be honest, this is not the new number 1.
Oh, it's not the new number 1 now.
Okay.
Oh, I wasn't gonna make this number 1.
I think you were gonna try.
Honestly, I would put this in the like.
Do you think it's better? Where would you rank it out of this month?
Out of this month,
Yeah.
I'd probably put it second.
Okay, so it's above 10 things.
I'd say it's probably above 10 things for me personally. I just like I'm a very emotional, like sentimental boy.
Mm-hmm.
So like 10 Things I Hate About You is like fun, but
Yeah.
this is a very like sweet movie. So
I was thinking between John Wick and Turning
Kimmy.
Red
Oh, okay.
because it has this like similar problems to John Wick.
Where
But
the
it's-
third act kind of.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't say this movie has like a third act lull. It's just
Yeah.
like things get a little confusing. In the
I
third
guess so. Do you think it would be under Kimmy?
act. Honestly, I think I was gonna pitch putting this above Kimmy.
Above Kimmy?
Yeah.
Really? Why?
I just think that like this is a movie that I think that I am likely to revisit because of how good it makes me feel.
Okay.
Just because it like has such a very like tangible message, but it's also very wholesome to watch. There's never a point in the movie where I'm like upset or
Yeah.
anything. I'm rarely rooting against them doing something.
Except
Or,
for the
like-
Charlotte thing.
Well, even the Charlotte thing, I'm like, I trust that you're not gonna. Well, I guess because I've seen
Adam's
it.
like, go for it, bud. Don't
Well-
tell Rachel McAdams and you're fine.
Well, I'm actually surprised that you didn't go, is it cheating if he does it and goes back
No,
in
it
time and
definitely is.
undoes it?
It
But
definitely
it
is, 100%.
Yeah, obviously.
It's like in the Change
I
Up.
knew you were going to bring up The Change Up. We watched The Change Up starring Jason Bateman and Ryan Reynolds last night, and it's one of the worst things
It's
I've
so
ever seen.
bad, and it's definitely money laundering.
But, like,
that movie
they-
did not cost $52 million.
Yeah, they both. Neither of them cheat on their like.
Spouse?
Well, I guess Ryan Reynolds doesn't have a spouse.
Oh, you're talking about the Change Up. I thought it. Anyway.
But like neither of them like cheat really, but like both of them think about it and almost do it and want to do it.
Yeah. But then they're like, yeah.
But then they're like, "Oh, whatever." Anyway, that movie's absolutely horrendous. I just feel like in this movie I don't know. It just feels like a very consistent like comforting ride.
Yeah.
Whereas like I do really enjoy John Wick and Kimmy a lot. But like those ones I feel an amount of stress.
Yeah.
Which like doesn't make them worse movies, but I think I'd just like rather watch a comforting movie than a stressful movie. I'd be willing to compromise though and put it between Kimmy and John Wick.
Why I would put it there is because I don't think Kimmy has a thing aside from like the kind of weird freeze frame ending that it gives you a
John
problem
Wick,
to leave.
About Time, and Kimmy all kind of fall apart at the end, but John Wick falls apart for basically the whole third act. It just kind of is
Yeah.
bogged down. About Time, like in the third act, things just get a bit
and
confusing.
you're left wondering about the powers, or at least I am. I'm left
Yeah.
wondering about the powers more than I am about like the story and the characters.
But then Kimmy only falls apart at the end for literally the last like 10 seconds of the movie, which I think is pretty good. So
that's why I would put it between those two.
okay. So I'm fine to do that.
Okay.
So we're gonna put About Time
Number 5 on the list.
at number 5 on the list, below Kimmy, but above John Wick. Honestly, when we did John Wick as the first episode, I was like, I feel like we're not gonna like get anything above John Wick. But turns out we like a lot of movies.
Yes, ma'am. First movie next month, Calder's month.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we should take a second to explain
Okay.
this because this is the first time that this is happening. So each month is themed, as we've discussed. This
Yes.
month's romance. Last month was movies of 2022. And March is the month that Calder has a birthday in. Are you going to quiz me on what your birthday is, or do you not even want it?
Do you know when my birthday is?
March 23rd.
There we go. That's for my social insurance, though. Don't steal that. Don't steal that.
I'm so bad at remembering birthdays, but like
birthdays.
I'm trying to get it. And my birthday's in June.
69. Just kidding. 1.
Yeah, June 1st. So
Did you really think I thought it was 69?
I thought you thought it was 69. Wait. That hurt.
That's
But,
a little halfy handy. How's
So
that
what we're
catchphrase?
doing is, for our birthday months, there's no theme. I didn't like that one. There's no theme for the birthday months. It is just whoever's month it is, they get to pick all of the movies.
Yeah. And March is a 5-week month.
March is a 5 Wednesday month, which just is so good. So good.
So let me get the movies up right now so that I can send them out into the universe before people have time to watch them.
Sure. I mean, we'll say each movie every week still, but
We will.
But I do think that since this is birthday month, it's fun to kind of like load her up.
So the first one I've done, Shiva Baby.
Next week.
Yes. And then coming in when the new Scream will come in, one of my favorite horror movies, Scream 1. Then we've got
Calder then said 2 movies that he switched later on, so those are no longer relevant. The 2 movies he has now are Police Story and The Big Lebowski.
and then we've got Fast 5, one of the great action movies.
I think I've seen Fast 5.
It's the one in Rio where they pull the safe.
Okay,
I've
yeah,
shown
I've
that
seen
to
that
you. Yeah.
So aside from Fast 5, I've seen none of those movies. So I'm kind of excited. And
gonna be good.
I've told Calder that I am worried that after his birthday month, he's going to have the top 6 movies on the list.
Hey, we'll see, baby.
Because he's just going to argue hard for him, but I'll probably do the same thing. Just kidding.
I know where Fast 5 is going to go on the list, and it's not the top.
I didn't choose literally my top 5 movies for my month either. So it's just movies that we want to talk about or that we like. So,
and I think all these are good. And a lot of the movies I pick are just movies I recommend.
Yeah.
So that I can be like, hey, you should watch this.
Yeah.
Like that's what I did with Waves. I really like Waves. I'd recommend Waves.
Yeah.
I would not recommend this one.
About Time?
That's fine. I'd recommend it to
About
my
Time
mom.
is only for certain audiences.
I'd recommend it to my mom.
I'm joking.
I'd be like, oh, you.
I'd recommend it to literally anybody, honestly. Except you, honestly.
What about all the incels you know?
Well, maybe they'd fucking learn something in this movie. Sorry.
Wow, Adam's anti-incel.
Oh, no.
I have 500 loyal boys.
Of course, they're all incels. Anyway, so next week is Shiva Baby. Next month is all Calder's month. It's Calder's birthday month.
And it's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Shiva Baby's on Netflix.
Good to know.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Screen Share, a movie podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week. Calder just slammed his head against the wall. What were your
Where am
plan?
I? Sorry, I passed out.
What was your plan with that?
I'm in the Matrix.
How many times do I have to tell you you can't do a visual gag on an audio podcast? He's shaking with his eyes closed. All right, everybody. Bye.